Hi, I'm going to show you a watercolor exercise I did with my class yesterday. We had so much fun, and I thought I'd share it with you. I have my watercolors here. You don't need a huge set of watercolors. You can have a set of 6 tube colors or pan colors and do this exercise. What you will need is a 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. You'll get the best results with this kind of paper. I have a larger tablet and I've just simply torn these little pieces up because this is the way we're doing our exercises in the class, and it's nice to work small, it's a good control, and yet you can learn a lot. The other thing that I have is a container of water and several brushes of various sizes. A larger one, a round one, chisel point, and then some smaller ones that I'm going to use for the watercolor exercise. I have an eraser, a natural sponge, wax resist, which is really what this exercise is all about, using a wax resist and the results, what the kind of results you get. The other thing is, because the paper is so small and I'm working directly on a table, I'm going to just make little rolls of masking tape to anchor this, because as I work on it, it will curl, and I don't want to do that. I just want to have it lay flat on the table so I can work on it. The other thing that you might want to have is a few sheets of paper towel, always handy if you need them. My palette is here. I have my paints in my palette. I've just added water to them to activate them. They were dry. There's a theory that that's not a good idea. I personally find that it's fine. I'm on a budget and I like to save my watercolors, so if I wet them, I can use them over again. And they seem to work just fine that way. Okay, there's just 2 more items I was going to talk to you about. One is I have a special brush for the wax resist because it's hard to get off a brush, and I just keep this only for using with wax resists. And if you're impatient like me, once I get the wax down, I'm going to be using a hair dryer to dry it because I don't have the patience to sit and let it dry by itself. So I'm starting with wax resist. You can buy this at any art supply store. This is pretty much liquid latex. Comes in, I think there are a lot of brands of it. This happens to be from a larger quantity in just a little jar. I had my class start with just flower shapes. We wanted to keep it simple so we could get the skills and techniques down on using this wax resist. So I started out with just simple flower shapes like petals. Obviously you can do any shape you want. This is what I gave my students to do because I wanted to keep it simple and have them learn this technique. It's okay to put some dots down. That will be a kind of a texture in this watercolor. Wax resist is dry. I mean, it'll be tacky, but it's okay to paint on that now. So what I'm going to do, and what we did in the class, is we're going to run some washes over this. Maybe of 1 or 2 colors. So I'm going to start with a green. Flower shapes, I figure this can be a kind of a floral arrangement. Now there's my light green wash. I think I'm going to add a little blue. You can see how the resist is resisting the water. So I have a 2-color wash there, and I think as long as it's wet like this and it's starting to blend, I'm going to sponge another color or two into that for variation. So I'm going to choose kind of a nice rust color here. Let's see what this looks like. And the sponge is excellent for texture. Get some really, really beautiful texture with a natural sponge. And the natural sponges, of course, are the best because they don't have any edges. It's just completely round. And they do come in various styles. This is a fairly coarse one. There are ones also, I think sometimes they're called elephant ear sponges. They're used in pottery a lot. I've used them for pottery. And they have a finer texture to them. So get a couple of different sponges, you'll have some really nice variety you can work with. So there's my wash. I think this green, as long as I'm doing the wash, I'm going to make it just a little bit greener right here. Okay, this is dry. I actually used the hair dryer on this to hurry it up. So there's my first wash, and now I'm going to take an eraser and I'm going to start picking up this resist. It pretty much just peels right off the wax resist. You can see what really lovely shapes this gives. And that would be hard to paint, that kind of thing. So now I'm going to go into it again. I think I'm going to take a smaller brush. I kind of like that pastel feeling. And, you know, with watercolor, lots of times it's just as important to not paint as it is to paint. I tell my students to look carefully at what you have and let the painting talk to you about what needs to be done. Don't try to assume that you can predict the effect, especially with watercolor, because when you're dealing with water, it'll work on the paper to make its own effects that you sometimes can't really predict. I'm basically just putting in light, delicate washes on some of these flower shapes. I think what this is telling me is that I would like very much to keep this simple and delicate. That's what the forms are telling me. I want to take some of the white out to give variation and volume to the shapes. Just some delicate touches making some leaf shapes using the shape of the brush rather than just painting them in. Okay, I'm thinking I'm finishing up now. I wanted to create a kind of a shadow area here and sunlight area here. I added a few lines with my brush to indicate the leaf shapes, just very delicately, because I like these very, very tender forms so much I don't want to overwhelm them. I've also added just little spots. I think they give the composition some energy. They could be dewdrops. Or bugs. Not quite sure, but I like the texture that the sponge work gave, and I'm just kind of adding to it a little bit. But I would say I'm going to leave this just the way it is. Many times when I'm teaching a class, I caution the students, just be very, very careful. When you think you should quit, you probably should have quit a while back. You can always keep on working on it, but it's good to leave off, look at it, and see if many times it's actually done. So you can do this exercise. Take a small piece of paper so you're not overwhelmed. Tack it down to the tabletop so it doesn't curl. Use your watercolors. Use good 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. Get some wax resist, assign a special brush for it, do your shapes, run a couple washes over it, let it dry, remove that resist, and then go into it with any kind of texture you want, lines with a brush, sponges, and different colors to bring in the tonality. And I think you'll have a lot of fun with this exercise. Why don't you try it?